The Navigating PVS podcast is for general knowledge and does not constitute medical advice. Please consult with a qualified healthcare professional for any health concerns.
I'm Joly, and I'm here with Lauren Bizarro. We're going to jump right in today and talk about all things PVS and our PVS journeys. Lauren actually reached out to me after I introduced this podcast, so thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for doing this. It's such an isolating disease, I feel like, and so few people can relate to what the kids are going through, what the families are going through, and just having something that you can listen to and just feel like, oh my God, someone out there gets it. They get it. Has been really nice for me, to be honest.
I feel like it was something I always had hoped somebody else would do, right? Because I mean, even right now, Summer's 3, she's by most measures reached a point of stability for a kid that has very aggressive, severe PVS, but there's still a ton to navigate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right now, we can't get off our 8-week cadence of catheters, and he's actually going for one on Tuesday next week. So I'm sure you know, the bit before the catheter is our hardest times with him. Oxygen need increases, the retching and vomiting increases, and it's just like we all got to just hunker down and get to next week is how we feel.
Oh, my heart's with you guys. We are in the longest stretch we've ever been in right now. It goes faster than you think it's going to, but then it also somehow feels slower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go all the way back. Let's go all the way back to your son's birth, and you guys are in Massachusetts. So
my son's name is Myles, and he was born in October of 2023. Honestly, I had a pretty easy pregnancy. I had a relatively easy labor. I went natural labor, full term. He stalled a little bit, and I needed to get induced just because he stalled. And so it's amazing to me, especially now, so many people will ask me, how long did he spend in the NICU? And he spent no time in the NICU. We went home 2 days later with who we thought was a completely healthy baby. There was nothing on any of my anatomy scans, nothing to show any sort of cardiac issue when I was pregnant. And so we went home and just went into everyday normal life, trying to figure out how to be parents, not knowing that there was this intense underlying issue with his heart. And so my husband and I, we just kept chugging along. And I will never forget December 1st, that day, I actually took him to his pediatrician because he was having trouble gaining weight. They thought he also had a tongue tie, so they thought the weight gain could be because of the tongue tie. And so we were getting his tongue tie cut and going to see lactation consultants and all of these things. But I had a regular check-in at my pediatrician, and Myles started to cry when we were at the pediatrician, and that's, totally normal. And his cry when he was born it was kind of a soft, gentle cry that, I was a first-time mom. I've been around babies, but I was like, oh, maybe my baby's just quiet. And it was something we noted, but I didn't think anything of it. And so he started to cry at the pediatrician, and my pediatrician, he just like switched modes on me. And he was like, is that how he cries? And I said, yeah, it is. And he's like, there's no such thing as a quiet baby. And so he immediately started listening to Myles' heart, and he heard a heart murmur.
Okay.
And so he went and got a pulse ox and he put it on Myles, and he was at like 84 for his oxygen. And he went and got a different pediatrician. He came in, and then all of a sudden he was just like, listen, I don't know how he got to cardiac issue, but he said, I think there's something going on with your son's heart. He was like, he's like, you need to go to the emergency room today. He was like, go home and get your husband. And he was like, pack a bag. Like you're going to be there. Like you have to go to the emergency room. And I was like, oh, like boss, like, because he was telling me like, oh, he needs to be seen by a cardiologist. He needs to be seen by a pulmonologist. And I still thought he meant like, we'll make those appointments. Like he has a heart murmur. We'll get him looked at. And he grabbed my hands and was just like, no, I don't think you're understanding me. He's like, you need to go today. He's like, you need to go home right now and go to the emergency room. And I was like, oh, And all I could think about is that
And what a blessing that he had the wherewithal to like catch this and
I think all the time.
investigate and really sit you down and make sure you understood the gravity of the situation.
Yeah. And he told me flat out, he thought Myles had something called a cardiac ring, which is not what he had, but he pulled up a picture of it. And at the time, I was like, that's the worst thing in the world. Like, of course, I like melted down in the parking lot. All I kept thinking, which is in retrospect so ridiculous, is the pediatrician is next door to Whole Foods. And I was like, I bought groceries. I have to pick them up. And so I remember sitting in the parking lot, panicking and calling my husband. I just felt like I had to get them. Like, I don't know, like everything got pulled out from under us. But
It's so funny that this has never come up in another conversation, but Kurt and I talk about this all the time. When Summer was really sick and we were constantly like in and out of the hospital, the amount of groceries that were wasted.
oh, yeah.
Like we would be like, oh, we're home from the hospital. Everything's going to be fine. We go get the groceries. And then we'd be back in the ER. We'd be like, oh, well, we're going to throw all those groceries away again. Like,
Oh, yeah. And there was one day we actually, from one of our admissions, my husband and I came home. Myles was at the hospital. We literally came home to like shower, get new clothes, go back to Boston because we do have that luxury, which we
yep,
know it's a luxury of being
yeah.
able to go home and back within a night. We walked into the house and our refrigerator was dying, making some sound. And my husband just looked at me and was like, I don't care. I don't care. I can't deal with this right now. He's like, I'm not dealing with it. And we literally just left a refrigerator for like weeks. And we were just like, I don't know. We'll deal with it. We'll deal with it later. Like you can't.
That is like such a
handle it.
real thing. That is the best analogy for the rest of your life when you're in the crux of PVS with your child. Nothing else matters.
No,
Yep.
we just left a refrigerator dying.
Just dying.
And it was a mess. Like we had to clean that up later. But we could not handle it in that moment. Yeah, so we ended up at the emergency room of Boston Children's. It was a Friday at about 5 o'clock. So it was a horrible time to be admitted or to go into an emergency room,
Yep.
honestly.
Yep.
And because, there are good times and bad times when you frequent them. And so we went in and we still thank God for this guy because he's doing the echo and he obviously saw something was wrong immediately.
Yeah.
And he just kept chatting with us, like asking us about vacations, Christmas, like it was December 1st. Like he didn't give us a single inkling that anything was wrong, which I appreciate to this day. And then eventually all of the doctors come in and they got down on my level. And that's when I was like, you don't tell people good news, kneeling and squatting in front of them. Myles has something called scimitar syndrome, which I had never heard of in my entire life. In and of itself, it's a rare congenital heart defect. So that's kind of where our journey started, was with scimitar syndrome and not PVS. We got admitted and my husband and I, we still thought like, okay, like it'll just be the weekend, and we couldn't do a CT scan over the weekend. We had to wait till Monday to do the MRI, the CTs, like we couldn't do the diagnostic cath until the next week. And so we had to get like a dose of reality. I felt like, because we just kept saying, oh, we should maybe by like Wednesday we'll be able to go home. Or we were there for like months, for the record. Like we did not go home.
Remind me again of how old Myles was at this point of this
Yes.
admission.
So he was 8 weeks old.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He was 8 weeks, like 7 weeks and like 5 days, I think.
And
when
you
we
were
actually
like,
got admitted.
You're still thinking we're gonna be home for his first Christmas. We're gonna do all the things.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, yeah. We were supposed to get our Christmas tree that day that I went to the pediatrician. This was like the first
You got your
pediatrician
groceries. You're gonna
visit.
get your Christmas
yeah.
tree. Yep.
It was the first time that we felt, because we're new parents, so it was the
Yeah.
first time we felt like I could go to the pediatrician by myself. I was
Yep.
like, you take the dog for a walk, and then we'll meet back up and go get our Christmas tree. And like, nah, we still haven't. We've been impatient both Christmases that he's been with us. So I'm like, this year, I'm thinking it's going to be this year. We can get a Christmas at home. But yeah, so we started, just as that week went on, started to realize, like, I think just like the severity of what was happening. And we did our diagnostic catheter. We confirmed he has scimitar syndrome. And
Can you kind of cover just like at a very high level obviously this is about PVS,
Scimitar
but
syndrome.
yeah.
So, but it does affect the pulmonary veins. So
Okay.
that it kind of leads. So scimitar syndrome is essentially his heart was wired entirely wrong. So your pulmonary veins, and now please, I'm like, this is just like I've now learned a lot about the cardiovascular system, as I'm sure you have as well. So I'm like, bear with me. But
I always like to mention we're not medical professionals, medical
professionals.
moms,
Your
and we're
moms.
just talking about the world as we know it for our children. So go on,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. So it's from the pulmonary veins from his right lung are supposed to go to his left atrium to bring oxygenated blood to the left side of your heart to get pumped to your body.
Yeah.
So Myles, or with scimitar syndrome, your right atrium circulates the blood back into your inferior vena cava instead of out to your body. So he was like recycling oxygenated blood through the right side of his heart over and over and over, and not necessarily shunting it to the left side where it was supposed to be.
Okay.
And mind you, luckily, he had an ASD and a VSD, so some of the blood was getting over there. So,
Yep.
like, those holes saved his life on
Yep.
some level.
Yep.
But he actually his body grew what are called collateral veins to try to accommodate for the lack of oxygenated blood getting to the left side of his heart. So his aorta grew these collateral veins, but the biggest one actually went back to the inferior vena cava. It's like basically like your blood is like on a highway, and he was just stuck getting on and off the same on ramp off. Like his right side of his heart was so inundated with blood that it was enlarged. It's like bigger, and it's like in the middle of his chest. And so what we think happened, because he had that soft little cry, he actually had a paralyzed vocal cord is what was causing that. And we still don't know for sure, but like I'm pretty convinced, because the nerve that controls your vocal cord goes down the center of your body and around your heart. I think it was pushing on the nerve and had paralyzed his vocal cord because of his scimitar syndrome. Yeah. So that was what we were dealing with in the moment.
So the fact that he made it
needs
8 weeks out of the hospital, no treatment.
People were astonished when we said, they were like, this is the first time you guys are finding out. And we said, yeah, like we didn't have any problems nursing. Like he was nursing, he was bottle feeding, he was eating, he just could not gain weight. And now, after all of this, we realized his body was just so inefficient that he was burning calories just trying to stay alive. So we went from having in my brain, a completely healthy baby December 1st, and December 15th, I was having open heart surgery to correct the scimitar syndrome. So that was a big,
So
like,
10
mind
days
shift.
of like this crazy diagnosis, the plan for surgery, making sure he's healthy enough for surgery, I
Make sure he weighed
assume.
enough for
Yep.
surgery. Yeah,
Yep.
we were.
Trying to like get some extra calories into him, blah, blah, blah. You have the surgery. When did you find out about the PVS?
So we knew they had warned us that a complication of scimitar syndrome could be developing PVS. So
Like post-procedural PVS.
post-procedural PVS, but his lower left pulmonary vein from birth was showing some stenosis.
Okay.
So they corrected that when they were in there, and they were kind of hopeful that it would be part of the scimitar issue. But, I mean, spoiler alert, we developed PVS. So I think,
So his PVS is a mix of both, kind of
yes.
this idiopathic, he created some scar tissue and also the veins that were reattached.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had his left lower was from birth, and then everyone just kept saying it is that left lower, has some stenosis, but maybe we can just like repair it and you'll be okay. And so we got discharged I think we got discharged on Christmas. I was stunned at how fast he moved from open heart surgery to going home. I was like, are you sure? Like, I'll stay. I'll stay as long as you guys want me to. But
It
we
feels
kind of,
safer, right? Like,
oh,
I think that's a
absolutely.
big thing. I think unlike you, I didn't have the wisdom early on. Like I just wanted to get out at all costs. I'm like, she's
Mhm.
fine. I take her home. Like we're good. And then after a few scary incidents at home, I was more like you, like, oh no, 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 I'm good. I'm good. We
Mhm.
can stay here. Like this kind of becomes like your comfort zone and like,
It is. And it's weird because it's like the hospital is my comfort zone, but it's also like my source of anxiety. Like I dread going to the hospital now.
yeah,
I'm like, I know it's me. Like I'm the one who's like, I just don't want to go because I'm like, it's
yeah,
hard living in the hospital.
yep.
It's hard trying to keep him comfortable in the
Mhm.
hospital, trying to
The
keep,
lights, the noise,
it's a
the
lot.
disruptions, the
Hmm.
like, especially in the ICU,
Hmm.
they're like, oh, well, we're gonna come in and draw blood at 4 in the morning. I'm like, that creates horrible sleep hygiene for
Yeah.
kids, and now they're afraid to be in their bed. And how can they relax
Yeah.
when they're afraid of like, what's the next thing gonna happen to me in my bed?
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
It's a lot. And so,
But all the things are there if there's a problem,
oh yeah,
right? Like
right.
it's
Oh,
such a weird
I
dynamic
know.
of I don't
I
want to be
know.
here, but also like I'm afraid to be out of here
At
sometimes.
that moment, I was afraid to be home. We were barely used to being a parent, let alone a parent of this child with this cardiac condition.
Yeah, your
Um,
world is completely flipped upside down. You had a healthy baby, and then 25 days later, you're taking home a child with a very complex, well, two. I mean, you knew
yeah.
at this time like he's got PVS and this
So
scimitar syndrome.
we didn't know about the PVS yet. So
Okay.
basically, we went home, and I mean, Christina Ireland, she sat me down and she was like, listen, we're going to keep a close eye on him. Because I kept saying, like, is he going to develop PVS? And she's like, I can't tell you that. She's like, he will either do it or he won't. Like the stenosis will come back in that left lower vein. And it did. And so I think by mid-January, like, and I don't know if all PVS kids do it, but he had this deep retching of a vomit. And sometimes things wouldn't even come up. It was just this deep
Hmm.
guttural. And I was like, this so obvious, this something is not right. And so we ended up obviously back in the emergency room with his second catheter, diagnostic catheter. Yeah, he has PVS. January of 2024 is when we got our official PVS diagnosis. And I think he had a catheter on the 20th of January. And I think we started Gleevec the 21st of January. Like it was
Okay.
just like,
Yeah.
this is what we have to do
Yeah.
because it had just from like that, think it was like a 6 week interval between the end of December and, or not even like mid-January. And his veins were so bad that they were just like, oh no, like this isn't good. He's got
Is it limited to the left lower and the, no, it's
So
everywhere.
his right veins are interesting because of the scimitar syndrome. He has like a bundle of right pulmonary veins. So he has this like, yeah. So in the world of PVS, he's like a little, I mean, every single one of these children is unique and has their own like comorbidities, but his right pulmonary veins are all affected. Like honestly, we can never remember the name of it. But like that like Greek mythology thing where you like cut the Hydra, you like cut one head off and like three more grew. We
Okay.
were like every time they went in, it was like we got this vein, but like four more veins, right? Like it's like every one of his veins. They're touching all of his veins. So it's the left upper, left lower, his right patch veins, his right lowers. It's all of them. So yeah, he has aggressive PVS for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so January 2024 is our
So you have
PVS
literally
journey.
you've won the lottery of rare heart diseases
Oh, I got
twice
two.
now.
I
Yeah.
got two. I was like, oh my God. It actually got to a point where my husband and I were like, please stop doing tests because every time you do a test, you come back with something else we have. I was thinking, I can't handle any new diagnoses. We actually did a study while we were at Children's, and I think it was just they collected his spit to see if, I think there was a group looking to see if they could find biomarkers that indicated whether or not children would have, oh my God, why can't I think of the word? What is it when you, oh my gosh, I'm like, my brain is just dead right now. What is it
You're
when
in that
you're,
window before cath. I get it.
I'm like, what is it when you're drinking and it's going down the wrong pipe? Like your
Aspiration.
aspiration. I'm like, the amount I think about aspiration in a
So
day
much. So
is,
much.
I'm like, I think about aspirating constantly.
Yep.
But I'm like, what is the word? My brain just stopped working. Yeah, they were looking at whether or not there, I don't know, some biomarker, whether they
Yeah.
could predict which kids were going to aspirate or not. And like they just
Interesting.
needed his
Yeah,
spit. So like I was like, I'll do that one because that one
for
seemed
sure.
like a really low bar. So I'm like, I'm pick and choose.
It's kind of same philosophy as you. If it's not additionally invasive for her,
Hmm.
then sure, absolutely. We want to contribute to that. But
Right.
there's been a few other ones where I'm like, oh, you think she'd be in the cath lab for an extra hour? No,
No,
thank you.
no, 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 no. I know because you hear like cath lab and people are like, oh, just like there's a big difference between like the diagnostic catheters and like the interventional catheters. And I'm like, some of our catheter days are like just as long as surgery days. Like they'll
Yep.
be like 5, 6 hours and we're
Yep.
just, it's a lot. It's a lot for their little bodies. And I was like, I'm not,
I'm
and
so
he's,
glad you said it because I feel like I'm always just like beating this poor dead horse all the time because I'm like, people don't understand these cats are aggressive.
yeah,
Like,
they are.
and she recovers certainly faster than she did from open heart surgery. She was about the same as Myles, like 10 or 12 days
Hmm.
recovery from open heart surgery. They turn around from a cath fairly quickly, but they're still aggressive and they're still, I mean, 5, 6, 7 hour caths. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what most people think of the cath lab.
No, no, because you like his diagnostic cath was not that. Because like there's a big difference when you go in and you're like taking measurements and pressures to when you're actually doing interventions. And from what we've been told, Miles just standard anatomy makes his catheters more difficult.
Mhm.
Like his just the branching of the pulmonary veins, like the way his left lower branches, which like the surgeon has told us several times, it's not anything wrong with it. My heart could be branched the exact same way. He goes, it's completely natural. He goes,
Yep.
it's just hard to operate around. Like he doesn't always have enough room to put in the balloons. He doesn't have enough room just because of the way Miles' heart
Yeah.
was. Like his heart was completely, all the plumbing was wrong. There were veins going every which way.
And that's
Right.
what is so messed up about PVS is it is like a chronic disease
Hmm.
that is very difficult to manage, very unpredictable, so different across patients.
Yeah.
Like uh so little is understood. Like there's so many things that make it different.
It's not cancer, but like it really acts kind of like a cancer. Like when I describe it to people,
Yep.
they're like, "Does he have cancer?" I'm like, "No, he doesn't have cancer." I'm like, he just has cells that are, but like even saying it, I'm like, you have cells that are continuing to grow for some reason where they're not supposed to be growing, and they're clogging up his pulmonary veins, and you have to slow that down, and that's all you can do. You just have to like mitigate symptoms until they get big enough,
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
wild.
That we are often like, well, it's like cancer, but it's not cancer, right? Like,
Exactly. It's not, but yeah, I get
and
why
again,
people,
cancer, not all cancers are curable, but oftentimes there's a more clear path,
oh yeah,
right? Like,
there's usually a clear path with cancer. And that's the thing. It's really, I don't know, PVS is it's a rough disease. But
okay, so wow, we just
yeah,
went all
we
over
went
the
all
board.
over the
Okay, let's
place.
like bring it back. Okay, so you're back in January. Avatar's fading into the background. We're
Mm-hmm.
post repair. Things are good, but now we have this new bomb dropped. Is like, okay, yeah, we weren't sure about PVS. Now we're certain.
Yep.
Okay. So they did not do any interventions at that diagnostic, or they kind of it was
They
quasi.
did.
Okay.
It was that one ended up being a full cath. Like his veins ballooned. I think they did balloon veining. I want to say, I can't remember. They did stent him at one point. I can't remember if it was that one or the one he had in February, like 4 weeks later, but he did get a stent at one point. So yes, it was an interventional cath as well in January. But yeah, then we kind of just started our PVS journey. They explained to us that there was like they use a drug called Gleevec in their treatment protocol.
Yep.
And
We were on it.
yep, which was interesting because I actually the pharmaceutical company I work at, we only do cancer therapeutics. So I used to work in a cancer research lab as like a bench scientist. And so I immediately they said Gleevec, and I said, you can give imatinib to children? And the doctor just kind of looked at me and he was like, what do you, because no, I didn't call it Gleevec, I called it imatinib. Like I called it's like trade name. And he was just like, what do you do for work? And I was like, I work in cancer pharmaceuticals. And I was like, is there a pediatric, there's not a pediatric approval for imatinib. And I just like started going on this like mental tangent. And what is like not hilarious, but my husband looked at me and he was like, what do you always say about imatinib? And mind you, I had a saying about imatinib, and because I'm crying, I'm upset, I'm like, not like, why isn't my baby? But I was like, imatinib does what it's supposed to do and it has low side effects.
You had mentioned this as we kind of exchange emails,
Mm-hmm.
but not at this level. Like this is fascinating to me because I've talked to other families for this podcast and outside of the podcast, and obviously we experience it ourselves. Like we are crying thinking of giving our child imatinib.
Yeah, I mean, I was too. The first day we were at home and I had to do it.
Yep.
I think I was like, I need to do it because my husband was like, I was like, no, I just felt like I had to give it to him, and I
You
gave
knew
it to
the drug,
him.
you knew the side effects, you like knew everything about it.
We put him to bed, and I think I cried in the hallway outside of his door because I was like, what did I just put in him? Like, I know what I just put in him, like intimately. I'm like,
Better
I just pumped
than
him.
most of us, for
I'm like,
sure.
I just pumped him with chemicals.
Yeah.
And I was like so upset that first night that I had to physically do it. And now I'm like, make sure he gets his imatinib. Like every night we're like, but yeah, I talk about imatinib on a daily basis at work. And it was just very interesting when he said Gleevec, I was stunned. I was like, I immediately was like, is it cancer? Like, does he have cancer? And then, they started explaining like the mechanism, like
the
obviously,
receptors and its response, and
and like, so much is unknown about PVS. Like, why is it doing what it's doing? It actually added an additional complication for us where he ended up needing blood transfusions in between the catheters. Like now we can get a catheter and we're maybe out in a day or two. But like back then we were getting a catheter and we'd be there like 7 days, 7 days, 9 days. Like we just recover from the catheter and like anything else that was going on. And then I would end up back in the hospital like 4 weeks later because he couldn't hold his oxygen. We were needing more and more during the day. So he
IV diuretics.
IV diuretics, yes. He doesn't use oxygen during the day. He does have pulmonary hypertension. It's not as bad as it sounds like Summers is, but he needs oxygen while he sleeps for some reason. Nobody really knows why. We've done sleep studies. He doesn't have showed nothing, but he can't sleep without destatting. So every night he sleeps with oxygen, but during the day he's normally on room air. But as we creep up to needing catheters, he needs to be on oxygen full time. But he was doing it in between. And I was like, what is happening? So we did like maybe 4 or 5 months of blood transfusion. Sometimes we would be admitted just for blood transfusions and IV diuretics, and then we could go home. And so they eventually started him on another drug called EPO.
We did that for a little while.
Yeah. So we gave the shots, like he gets the shots. We just stopped it like 2 weeks ago. He was on them from October to now, but it actually prevented us from needing blood transfusions in between. And so I was like, thank goodness. Like that worked. We actually felt like that was like the first drug that we gave him that we had like tangible evidence was working, because it's like, we hope the imatinib is working, but like after he started imatinib in January of 24 and we added in Avastin in October of 24. So like we did months and months and we weren't getting out of our 8-week cadence. And then we added in the Avastin and we're still on our 8-week cadence. And so it's like, but then you think like, well, how bad would he be if we weren't giving him any drugs? Like probably very, very bad,
Yeah.
So it's like hard to know. And you're trying to make all these decisions on things you don't know anything about. And the stakes are high.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of pressure being a parent of a PVS kid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like knowing the right questions to ask. So I joke all the time that I literally got an MBA to be able to take care of a PVS child.
You need it.
Right? Like
you need it.
I think for a lot of us that sits uneasy, like knowing that there's probably quite a bit of inequity in PVS care.
There's absolutely inequity.
A ton of it.
It's horrible. Right when he got his PVS diagnosis, like my husband and I both work full time, but they were like, you need to get Medicaid as a secondary insurance because God forbid anything happens. Like you want to have the secondary insurance. Getting Medicaid, hardest thing I've ever done. Hardest, honestly. I also went to grad school. I'm like, hardest thing I have ever done is get him Medicaid. And I'm like, I live in Massachusetts. I was like, you guys, this should be a well-oiled machine. Like this is a super blue state. You guys love Medicaid.
It's so sad.
It is, and like we would talk about how rare PVS is. And like, it is obviously a very rare condition, but I was like, I would talk to my husband and I'd be like, it's probably a little bit underreported just because how many kids are born with PVS in a location that is unfamiliar with PVS. And unfortunately, like things can happen before you figure it out. Like it is a deadly disease. And it is not lost on me how fortunate I feel that not only did we catch it early by a freak pediatrician appointment of my son crying quietly in the pediatrician because he pooped in his diaper. I was like, thank God he pooped that day. I think about that all the time. I'm like, thank God he pooped. And it's now not like a funny joke, but it's like kind of a running joke at Children's Hospital that like Myles is a liar. Like he presents.
They all are. Yep.
He presents so well. Like there were times where like I'm pushing 2 liters of oxygen and I can't keep him above 90. Like this one admission, he was pushing 4 liters and they were like having the conversation of like, what do we do? Do we put him into the ICU? I really did not want to go to the ICU.
Oh, I hate going to the ICU.
I was pushing to keep him on the floor. And mind you, he was standing in the bed, shaking because one time we shook his crib and we yelled earthquake, and now he thinks it's the funniest game in the world. So he was standing and he was shaking the bed and the doctor was like, I can't send that kid to the ICU. Like he looks too good. And he was not good. Like we almost lost a vein that time. Like he was very much not good. And he was just presenting, other than the need for 4 liters of oxygen, he was playing around in his crib. And like, I'm just like, you're sitting there like trying to negotiate. My husband always says that we're like volunteer firefighters. He's like, we're like volunteer nurses. We're like good enough. But if your house is on fire, you want a real fireman. Like you don't want like a volunteer firefighter.
That's a great analogy. I love that. I'm definitely going to steal that.
So we're like, we're volunteer nurses because I'm like, at home, I will troubleshoot. You have to all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're troubleshooting. He's having oxygen issues. We're like, is it a mechanical issue? I'm like checking the lines, checking the oxygen concentrator in his room, making sure everything is connected right. I'm like, okay, is the tube like doing all this? I'm like, all right, maybe it's, we'll go and get a mobile unit and plug him directly into the mobile unit. And we're like, all right, he's still struggling. I'm like, I think his retractions are getting stronger. His work of breathing is increasing. I'm timing his respiration rate in his room. I'm like,
I can tell you definitively, it does eventually get better out of that. That level of triage is like it. I'm having PTSD right now because I'm like,
oh my gosh, a real thing.
Like, that is
like the parent side of it.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of diagnostic stuff, that we're doing at home as parents is just crazy. It's not for the faint of heart.
it's like every 2 weeks he has to get an IV put in because it's an
Yep.
IV drip of a medication.
Yep.
He can't use like the standard nurse. Like we have to get the IV team because his veins are
Diva.
yes.
Diva, right?
Yes.
Like I don't even remember what it actually stands for,
I
but
don't either. Designated IV.
access. Well, no, that
Right. So it's like we're like the second we show up, they're like paging the IV team because
Yep.
I'm like, it's
We need it for labs still.
yes, it's
I
just too
mean,
much.
summer is we're just starting to have discussions that like maybe in the next 3 to 6 months we could stop using vascular access for labs.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
I will say he is incredibly tolerant. He's incredible in the hospital, but the second he sees the IV team, he loses his mind.
Yeah.
Like they are the ones, like almost
Yeah.
anyone else. He's done unsedated CT scans. Like
Yep.
he's the chill kind of guy. But if he sees that ultrasound machine roll into the room, he is hiding. He's like trying, I'm like, it breaks my heart because you're
Yeah.
just watching this little guy and he knows exactly what he's like that they're going to stab me and he does not want them to touch him. So
They're so smart.
they're so smart. It's
They're so
getting
smart.
harder.
Yeah.
So Myles ended up needing a second open heart surgery because oh yeah, he had two. So he
I
had two
forgot
within
about that. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in our PVS journey of 2024, we were kind of chugging along. We were doing our catheters every 8 weeks. We were doing our transfusions and the intervals. But then in like October, like right around when he turned 1, he was supposed to have a longer interval. We couldn't make it. It was very unexpected because his August and June catheters went so well that we were like, oh, like kind of getting a little hopeful. And then his October one was it was the first time where like we lost some ground. Like we weren't able our ending diameter of his veins was not even equal to the ending diameter of the previous catheter. So even with the growth of his vein, it was clogging up faster than it should have been. And so they were nervous that we were going to start losing ground.
Okay.
And so we needed to do another surgery. And essentially we needed to do it was kind of presented to us as like, this is what we would normally have done for a PVS patient in the beginning. But since Myles had started as a scimitar patient and had just had open heart surgery, we waited to see how it progressed. And it ended up being, a full anatomical repair.
Yeah.
And so we did that in November of 2024. So we did the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, we did his second open heart surgery. And that one, was a little bit rougher for us. Like he ended up staying sedated for 12 days following the surgery, which I was not necessarily prepared for. Like he had been sedated for maybe 36 hours after the first one. So like that's the reference point I had in my head. And like, the doctors are fantastic. They were trying to prepare us the best they could. And they just kept saying, Myles is going to lead this recovery. He's going to tell us when he's ready. And like, he just would not stabilize post-surgery. Like his blood pressures were crazy. So we had to keep him sedated for 12 days.
Well, he's in a much different place than he
Right,
was
he's
at his open heart
bigger.
surgery, right? Like his
Mhm.
heart's been taxed more, his lungs have been taxed more. Like they probably need more time to recover from surgery. Like when he had the
Right.
first open heart surgery, even though it was dysfunctional, his body was kind of like it was
Oh,
working a
he
little bit.
bounced back. Like
Yeah.
that first one, it was like we always say like the strides he seems to make coming out of even a catheter. Like I feel like the weeks after that first open heart surgery, he was just like the development was like the curve went way up. And then, it kind of plateaus as you get,
Yeah,
they're
especially when
all
those intervals are so tight. It's like those first 2
Mhm.
weeks post cath, it's like get it all in because that's
Mhm.
all you're gonna get for that interval,
Right.
right? Like
Because then
because
things
once they start decompensating,
right. Like we struggled a lot with it
yeah.
in the beginning. I mean, we're still struggling with it, mostly when he's declining and just like I feel like we're trying to hold on to like this idea of like still being a normal family.
Yeah.
Not that we're not normal, but
Yeah.
like even literally last Friday, I tried to go to TJ Maxx and I had to leave. Like I tried it, couldn't do it. For some reason, not some reason, he's on blood thinners. He's
Yep.
on oxygen full
Yep.
time. He gets
Yep.
nosebleeds. He's bleeding profusely out of his nose
Yep.
and he's starting to sneeze in TJ Maxx. So now he's
Yep.
spraying blood
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep.
I've
Been
got
there. Yep.
I've got the oxygen tank, I've got the feeding tube, I've got him, and I'm just like, not worth it. Like, there's so many things, like we haven't. I see all my friends like they've gone on vacations with their kids,
Yep.
and like I'm like, we still have
Yep.
yet
Same.
to do that.
Yep.
We're like, maybe one day. We keep trying to go on vacation. Like my mom had rented a ski house in New Hampshire, and I was like, we're gonna come, we're gonna come. I was like, maybe we'll stay for like 3 days. I think we were there for a night, and we drove straight from New Hampshire to Boston Children's Hospital. Like we keep trying to go places that are drivable.
Yep.
Like we would
Same.
never venture. I mean, I don't even think he could go on a plane right now, but
We're hoping to, we're like big outdoors people. So we have a camper and the camper just sits. Like
well,
we've
yeah.
taken it, but we haven't really
Mhm.
been able to take her. And so we're trying to do that this fall. Yeah, but right now we're struggling. Minnesota and Wisconsin are really struggling with all this wildfire smoke coming from Canada.
Mm,
And it
mhm.
is like we have all these outdoor plans this weekend, and I was on the phone
Mm.
with the pulmonary clinic yesterday. Like, what do I do? Up until now, we've just canceled our plans, but that doesn't work for this weekend. So, like, what's a safe amount of time outside? What
Right.
do I do for her respiratory plan? Like,
Things I've never thought about. Like all
nope.
of a sudden you have to check the air quality of the
Yep.
day. Like I've never, and I'm like last weekend the air quality in Massachusetts was horrible, and we were like, I was like, oh, should we not go outside? Like, is that a thing? Like
Yep.
no one's ever told me don't go outside. Like no one's ever said to me like if the air quality isn't good. But I'm like, how could I take him outside? He's on full-time oxygen. He
Yeah.
clearly can't handle this.
Yes. Yes.
Like it can't be good. Yeah. Like I don't know. It's
To the pulmonary office's credit, they're like, well, it's really up to a parent's discretion. I was like, well, to be honest, up until now, we just always cancel our plans, but that doesn't actually work this weekend. And
Mhm.
you have to start making these choices. So we used to harp on all this developmental stuff.
Yep.
Well, then, as summer started to stabilize, we kind of met the providers, right? Where like
Mhm.
up until then, they're like, you're focused on the wrong thing. Like we are literally just trying to save her life right now.
Yeah.
And so you need to kind of let some of this stuff go. Well, then eventually, as she stabilized, we started having providers say things like, well, we have to balance the developmental piece of it too, especially as far as like gross motor skills. Because for kiddos like Summer and Myles, when you spend a lot of time laying around a hospital bed, you're not developing the core strength that you need for your
Mhm.
lungs to get stronger and, basically your body to work the way it's supposed to.
Right.
And so that's how we're kind of going into this weekend going, okay, what can we do to support her? What's reasonable to have
Mhm.
her outside to spend time with friends and family and other children? And, she's an only child.
I know. And that's
And
that's something that's really hard because like he's an only child. He doesn't go to daycare.
yep,
I can't put him in daycare. We have
absolutely.
if Miles gets a cold, like I end up in the hospital. And
Yep.
I'm like, I'm like I can't, it's not worth it. So we just stay at home and we don't do anything. And it's wild. And I'm like the carefreeness that I feel like other parents had.
Yeah.
At first I was very jealous of it. Like, and I still am jealous
I
of
still
it.
am.
I'm
Yep.
super jealous of it. I'm
Yep.
like, you just like, even just like, you just pick your kid up in the middle of the night when they're having a hard time. Like Miles has so many wires.
Yep.
He has so many connections
Mhm.
that we dream of just picking him up one day wire free. And we
Yeah.
like, we joke about it now. We're like, oh, we didn't get the wireless model. Like ours,
Yep.
our baby has to be plugged in.
Yep. Yep.
But it really is like I had to grieve. I feel like on one hand, like when you become a parent, we had some friends that are really close to us who told us they were like, your whole life is going to change. And like, and on some level, you have to grieve who you used to be. Like, I'm no longer the carefree, like now I'm a mom, so I had to a little bit, like everything changes and that's a big thing. But like I had to grieve the baby I thought I was going to have.
Yep.
I had to grieve the life I thought I was going to have.
I still struggle with the envy, right? Like we have
Mhm.
friends, their daughter just turned 1, and like some are still like they're achieving like similar milestones. Not all, but some, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I reframe it for myself, like, yes, Summer's 3, but it's more like she's 2.
Yeah.
Because for a solid 14 months, she spent the better part of her life just laying around a hospital bed.
Right. Like what was he expected to do? What was she like, what kind of development was she expected to do? She was just trying to survive. Like
Yep.
she was using all of her energy
Yep.
surviving.
Yep.
And I have to reframe myself sometimes. And it's when we're doing the occupational, Myles isn't walking, he isn't talking, and he isn't eating. And I feel like I can only think about my life in 8-week increments. I can't think about, like, people will ask me, oh, are you doing anything this summer? And even now, I can only think about next Tuesday. And after Tuesday, I can think about
You
another
can
8 weeks.
relax for a few weeks.
Right. And that's when I start thinking about,
Yep.
because during the day, and even during the day, it's like your days are so regimented of like, yes, it's regimented from like a toddler perspective of like he has his wake windows, he has to nap at this time, but then also he gets these medications 3 times a day, he gets these medications twice a day, he gets this medication once a day, and it's like, what times do I give him the medications that is convenient for him first and foremost, but like convenient for me?
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
sometimes, like when we left the hospital, they were giving medicine at like like 4 a.m.
Yep.
I was like, I'm not giving him medicine at 4
I can't.
a.m.
I have to sleep. So year and a half ago, we finally were able to get her to twice a day diuretics.
Okay.
That was a huge
That's a
game
big one.
changer. That's a big game changer.
Like, I feel like Myles is still obviously very much in the thick of his PVS journey, but our unexpected hospital stays have gone down significantly. And that feels like an entirely different world.
Yeah.
Like we were in for a cath and we got discharged the next day. I was like,
Like,
this has never
happening?
happened to me. Like I've never done less than 6 days. Like we can just go home. And the two of us my husband and I were working full time.
I don't know how you were doing that, by the way.
My husband and I are like, we're totally like our brain, like you just do things now that I just would never have ever
You're
thought
almost
I
like
would have done.
levitating out of body, right?
Yes.
Like these experiences and what is normal for us is just so
Abnormal for
abnormal.
everyone.
But it's our normal, it's their normal. And
I had a meeting with my boss one time and I was like, I just need you to know in this 1 hour, I was called by the CVS specialty pharmacy. I was called by the Acton pharmacy, which is the only pharmacy in New England that can compound Gleevec. His speech pathologist, I've been called by the GI unit of hospital, and my husband and his primary cardiologist. I have 15 text messages from the two of them that I really feel like I need to read now.
that was 1 hour.
That was 1 hour. And it's just like the amount of phone calls that you get it's insane.
It's
But yeah.
overwhelming. There are some days, like literally, that's a great example. I was at Summer's first outpatient. We just established a new outpatient OT. And we're at the very first appointment yesterday. I am waiting on multiple phone calls. So I see an area code show up that was like, oh, I think this is, I can't remember who I thought it was, but it was another. I was like, oh, I definitely got to take this. And then I pick it up and it was a completely different specialist that I was also like, oh, I forgot I was even waiting for a phone call from you.
Right. I know. It's crazy. It really is. And like, you have to just keep track of all of it. And in the beginning, you don't think you can say no to anything. And now I'm at the point where like the genetics department called me and they were like, we need to schedule a follow-up. And I was like, for what? And the person on the phone just said, well, I don't know. You're just on the list for a follow-up. And I said, well, I need you to find out what the follow-up is for. I was like, because we did the genetic testing. There's nothing that could have been done.
Also,
and like,
do you know
what's
how many
the point
appointments
now?
this child has?
I'm not going to one. I'm like, unless you tell me. I'm like, what it need? But in the beginning, I never said no. Like I didn't know. And I didn't like have the confidence to say no. I didn't
Yep.
want to make the mistake of not doing something that could like help him. And so I was going to every single appointment. And now I'm like, this could be virtual. Why am I here? I didn't have to come to Boston for this.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's
Also knowing what you can take virtually, like
yes.
being able to navigate that, I think is so important. Like we have GI established, but Summer doesn't have anything inherently wrong GI. She's just
Mhm.
on tube feeds and has a little bit of acid reflux because she has a cardiac condition that she can't really handle feeds. She doesn't tolerate them super well. And so we have some throwing up, right?
Right.
So like now we're at that stage where like you, it's like, okay, can I do this virtually? Can I push it out? Like, yeah, you want to see us in 3 months. Can we do it in 4?
Right.
You know,
Right.
like trying to figure out that balance. And I think it took me a long time to figure out that you matter in the equation,
Mhm.
right? That like what works, you got to put Myles above everything else. Summer is above everything else, but you have to know what you can navigate, and that just takes time to figure out. But
Yeah.
I love ending on this topic because I do think it's hugely important, you know, in those first early stages, you're in the hospital, you're doing the thing, you're giving them everything they need, you're exploring everything. But
Mhm.
then as a parent, you should be empowered to navigate things you can say yes and no to, things that you
Mhm.
can either stretch out or handle virtually or put on the back burner
Mhm.
because there's other
Yeah.
things that require your attention.
Right. But getting to that level and getting to that space is so difficult.
So that wraps my conversation with Lauren. It is taking me a little bit of time to get to editing these episodes so that they are a good length for us busy PVS parents and caregivers. I want to thank Lauren for her time and let everybody know more episodes are coming somewhat soon. Thanks for listening.